Hey, it's Armin with Attract. At Attract Advisors, we offer accounting advisory, tax advisory, as well as financial management services. We're lucky enough to work with very many hardworking, talented entrepreneurs across many different industries. Many of these individuals are world-class in their sphere and have great stories to tell. This is our way of highlighting their accomplishments and their insights, and we hope you enjoy these conversations.
Even in our freshman year with those like freezing cold mornings
I
on
remember
the
those.
turf, man. And I'm curious, like, do you ever look back on some of those struggles or some of those hard times and think like, if I can make it through that, then whatever's in front of me now, like I'm prepared for it. Like it's nothing now.
John, you're bringing back some good memories here. That spring is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a spring defined as January to May.
Right.
Those alarms going off at 5:30, knowing it was 35 degrees outside. Where our dorm was, you either drove from Taylor Hall to the field or you would walk. And there were plenty of mornings where I chose to walk just to wake up. And they turn the lights on, it's 5:45, and you're thinking, man, most of the world is asleep. Most of my colleagues might have been out the night before, like people I know. And then here I am, like, what am I doing? So I didn't necessarily realize it at that time. At 18, I didn't have the perspective of being that forward thinking, but there's definitely times I look back on the athletic piece that I was able to participate in that, yeah, if I can get through those things and still maintain a 3.5 GPA in college and playing football and doing those things, that, it'll serve me in other ways as I continue to grow. There's no doubt.
And you mentioned like time management. I mean, as a D1 student athlete, all of the things that we had to go through, I was never an early riser until college.
Yeah.
Like I was one of the last ones that barely made the bell, every day of high school. And I learned the importance of getting up early at that point. And I mean, remember, we walked because if we drove, our parking spot wouldn't be there when we got back.
Not only that, but do you remember how aggressive the campus police were with parkings and
That's
tickets? Like we
right.
couldn't afford a $50 ticket in those
That's
days.
right.
I couldn't.
Yeah, it just brings me back. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about, you had transferred out, to go play baseball.
Yeah.
But 2 or 3 years, after our freshman year was when the new coaching staff came in.
Like
And we
y'all had a
started
lot of
winning.
success. A lot of success. Yeah.
And I was just so like my eyes were opened like to the nth degree as to like the difference between what made a losing team and what made a winning team.
Yeah.
And, some of the things that they used to let slide, like, I mean, I won't say his name, but remember we had a guy transferred in from University of Texas and, got arrested or whatever and came over to Southeastern. And I mean, he just flipped out on some coaches one morning and cursed them out and he quit. And then the next day he was back out there.
Yeah.
And so when you set that type of tone, it makes everybody kind of wonder, what's real here?
Yeah.
Like, what can I count on? What can I get behind? And then fast forward to the new coaching staff, they'd let anybody walk.
Yeah.
Or they wouldn't bring them in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think like I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I see that in your company and I see that in my company too of bringing in the right people from the start.
Right.
Right.
We're getting into that EOS journey and it's right person, right seat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been just so, it's almost like it's part of the clouds and the sun is shining now. And it seems like such a simple perspective and thing to practice, but it is absolutely right. We've identified some of those challenges already and we've been able to hedge against it. And magically the success has continued to come, but at a much more comfortable level. So you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. So let's get in kind of post-college. You started your career,
Yeah.
and then at some point, you got the bug to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to like kind of learn about that time of your life briefly, and then also curious to get like your assessment of expectations versus reality
Yeah.
of entrepreneurship.
Wow. Okay. Graduated from LSU in the spring of 14 with a degree in business. I went to work for a global electrical distribution company that was simply the middleman between manufacturers and electricians.
Mm-hmm.
It's formerly owned by General Electric. I was put into a role where I learned the business ground up, right? I spent 2 months in the warehouse learning how to pick orders, where these things came from, just the nuance of what it was the parts and pieces that we were selling. Then I moved to counter sales, then inside sales, and then the fundamental piece of that was to get into an outside sales role. About 10 months into that, the company actually shut that branch down, and I was transferred to Baton Rouge to a sister company where I went from an outside sales trainee to a branch manager. So overnight, I'm 23. I'm in charge of a $20 million P&L, a branch that's had a lot of success. And I've got salespeople that have been doing this twice as long as I've been alive. That was a real challenge, but I'll tell you, that experience grounded me and made me, I didn't know what a profit and loss statement was. I took finance in college, but
not seriously.
There was some cramming for those tests. But anyway, that real life experience really is what graduated me to fiscal responsibility from a financial standpoint. So the flood of 2016 happens, our house in Denham floods. And oddly enough, it was just God's timing. I found a lot of joy in cutting sheetrock and mitigating. Didn't know mitigation was a thing. And shortly thereafter, left GE, went to a local home builder, and I spent a few years with them. So just to kind of tie this all together, wasn't necessarily looking to start my own company. Marissa and I had talked about, potentially being entrepreneurs at some point in our life, but it wasn't something we were really searching after. And during my time with the home builder, it just kind of came over me, like not necessarily just building houses, but from a trade standpoint, I feel like I can do some of this stuff. And I don't know if it still exists, but on LinkedIn, there was like this career interest tab. So where if you toggled it, it would send your profile out to recruiters sort of incognito. I don't recall exactly what that's. So I did that, and I just started getting flooded with messages from recruiters. This guy named Matt reaches out, says, "Hey, I'm selling franchises in Restoration One. Would you be interested?" I kind of looked at it and said, I don't know much about franchising. So anyway, I took a call, and John, I'll tell you, 10 minutes into that call, I knew. There was just something that came over me that said, this is what I need to do. So much so, I didn't tell Marissa about it for a couple of weeks. Like, I didn't want to just come home over dinner and say, oh, by the way, today I had this dream that we would own a business. So did my research, and I finally brought it to her a few weeks later. And this may come as a surprise to most people just in the vacuum, but her response was, okay, let's do it. Like, what are you going to do, fail? Well, and the answer is no. I'm not wired that way. So started it, did all the stuff, went through the SBA, got the funding, got approved through the franchisor, and in August of 18, we opened up our doors. So we're coming up on 7 years here, and it's been a remarkable ride.
That's amazing.
Expectations. So this may come as a surprise too, but man, when we started this thing, or the theory started to build, it wasn't necessarily let's build a business to sell. It was just, I just want to go serve, and I want to be my own boss, and I don't want to go have to knock on the door and say, hey, I'm going to go to lunch. I'll be back. Like, I hope that doesn't come off as arrogant. It just, for me, I didn't want that for myself. I felt like I was responsible enough to control my own schedule, do my thing. And I suppose in theory, just not report to anyone. I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be the one that made the decisions. I can tell you our business has evolved numerous times. We've been working with you on the client side for about 16 months now. Our business has changed through a track. You guys have helped us grow through that. It's been amazing. So even that's changed. What I find is that as I'm educated on what that next step is, whether it's financially, through coaching, EOS leadership, whatever that looks like, our needs are changing, and I try to stay grounded in what those expectations might be. We've been over our skis at times. I would suspect most entrepreneurs probably have that happen to them. So we just try to stay grounded in what it is we're trying to accomplish. It all comes back to our core values. Why are we doing this? And at the center of that is just having a servant's heart.
So well said. And you mentioned, Marissa a few times leading up to this. And, I look at you guys as partnerships, both in business and in marriage. And it's just it's so fun to watch. It's so wholesome. And you guys are just such a great team. Can you kind of talk about her support, through building this thing and what she's been able to do for the team to this point?
We could film an entire session on this, and I say that sincerely. When we started this, Marissa went to Southeastern, majored in education. And when we started in 2018, she was about 5 years into her career. the story of the first job, this business started in our garage. I get a phone call. I go out. I'm the only person in the company. And it's an apartment complex off of Jefferson Highway. And I called her and I said, hey, when you get out of class, I need you to bring me a shop vacuum. The contractor forgot the tool to clean up after himself. So she comes and delivers the vac, sticks around for some time, helps me cut walls. So it's just she and I. I get home late that night. That was in August. So we fast forward to May of that same academic year. And I said, hey, why don't you come do some marketing for us? Like, just spend a few weeks. You're out for the summer. You've earned that time, but you're out for the summer. Let's have you come in and do some marketing. We had someone from our Restoration One corporate office come in as a field consultant to train. She spent 2 or 3 days on the road with, his name was Damon. And she looks at me at the end of that and says, I'm not going back to the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So that was not my intent. I didn't do that to coerce her out of a career that she loved by any stretch. But after a few days, she said, hey, I want to do this. And my immediate thoughts went to, okay, how fast do we replace that salary?
Yeah.
How fast do we
no
do all the things?
guarantees anymore.
No, this is all on us. And it was very obvious within the first 30 days that my initial thought of replacing a salary was, although humble,
Short-sighted.
yeah, it was. I didn't see the forest through the trees, right? So she joined us full time in June of 2019, and her impact on the business. We wouldn't be here today if her business development efforts for that first year she was there didn't exist. We would have run out of cash. We would have failed. We were winning some jobs in those first 8 months, but it wasn't, no one was tracking the internet presence. How's our SEO and pay-per-click performing? Yeah, I'm going to little events here and there to tell people about Restoration One, but then she joined a BNI group, and that just took off. I mean, so without her BD efforts in this first year, I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. So I can't underscore the value she's had from a business standpoint at all. I mean, it's it's funny. I was talking to Toby the other day. We just finished a session with him with the OS, and he said, I want to tell you something. You and Marissa, after observing you guys through several sessions here, like, your partnership is as strong as I've seen. And I don't mean that from a husband-wife standpoint. I mean from a pure partnership. And John, what it did, I felt that feedback was amazing. And I told him, I said, man, I know that I do this because we're married and we're also business partners, but I've taken her for granted so many times, just in terms of being a thought partner. Hey, I'm really bad at HR. Imagine that. I need you to handle this. I need help getting through this sales meeting because me and the sales rep are very like-minded, and we need alternate perspective to keep us grounded from wanting to fly to the moon. So having her there is a real luxury, and she's the details person, right? I'm the visionary. Mm-hmm. She's the implementer in our own house, right? Like, without her, I'm just pie in the sky. I'm dreaming of all the things I want to do, but I need someone to hold me accountable to that. So again, having her in the business is, I cannot underscore the importance of having her there. We wouldn't be who we are or likely here today without her being in the business.
And that's a nice segue really into my next question, which has to do with your culture, right? So you and Marissa set the tone at the top. Outside looking in, it looks like you guys have an amazing culture. You've got core values. You've had low turnover. Your employees are happy and they're eager, and you do things to reward them and to make them feel, like really part of the team, and a sense of pride and ownership and all those things. Can you talk a little bit about your culture and how did you build it?
Our culture is, there are many things that are important in our business, but we put culture above anything else. The fundamental reason I ever wanted to own a business, although I didn't put a ton of thought into it at the time, was I just wanted to be the boss or the leader that I wish I would have had at different stops or things. And that's not to say, that's not an indictment of the people that I served under at all. It's just, I'm just hard-headed and strong-willed enough to want to do it myself. We hire on culture. We talk about it in interviews. We've not necessarily made decisions, but we've based hiring off of, hey, is this a good culture fit for us? You talk about maybe don't bring a person into your organization in the first place. I think that's very important. if we've got the right person but the wrong seat, that's something we can work with. But if we don't have the right person, it's a non-starter. So if any of our employees were sitting here, absent me being in the room, that's when you get real feedback often is, I think they would echo the same things. We've had turnover. Of course, every business does. We've had challenges. We've had people leave that, it was a good thing. We've had people leave that, we wished them well. And, it was a loss to the organization at the time. But I can sit here and tell you, looking you in the eye, we have people in the building that want to be there. They want to serve, and they're doing it for the right reasons. John, it's really tough to get a phone call at 1:00 in the morning and not being happy with the company you work for or the purpose in which you're hired for, to get out of bed and go help someone else at 1:00 when you're on your third dream. That's a really challenging thing to do. So again, leadership, management, executive team, technicians, I don't care. If we don't have those right people in those seats, it will uncover itself very quickly. So culture is it drives our organization.
And for me, coming into your office and meeting your team, there's just such a feeling or such evidence of mutual respect. The guys and the ladies respect each other. They respect themselves. They respect the leaders. And then the leaders respect everyone. And you respect your subs and your contractors like me, even, your vendors. And I think you guys lead by example. And so I just want to honor you guys for that.
I appreciate that.
Because it's really awesome to watch.
I'll tie it up this way. I talked about sports and my opinion is I am who I am today because of a lot of that background and just the experiences I've had, right, wrong, or indifferent. This is a cliche term in sports, but like running through the brick wall, right? There have absolutely been coaches and leaders that I would do that for. There have been people that I've encountered in the past that I can't say that I would. And again, no necessary indictment against them. It's just I didn't either agree with their leadership style or we clashed, whatever it looked like, and that's okay. But having that, I could sit down in an interview and I can almost assuredly tell you within the first 10 seconds, has this person played organized sports at least at a high school level, right? Or were they in the military? I can just, it's almost just evident based on their body language, words they choose to use. We always ask the question, hey, give me a time where you faced some adversity. What was it and how'd you overcome that? John, almost assuredly, we could stop the interview there and I could tell you whether or not this person's going to work out in our company.
Yeah. And it's so fitting because I was having this conversation again with somebody different over the past couple of weeks. And it had to do with this CEO group during COVID. So you had, this very powerful CEO group. A few of the businesses failed, a few of them thrived, and then a few of them had some, temporary challenges and figured it out. Well, come to find out, the businesses that failed or owner filed bankruptcy, closed down, whatever, one of the guys, and I'm told this story, the most adversity that he had ever faced in his life was not making the varsity golf team in high school.
Yeah.
And so there's something beautiful about the struggle. And I think you and I have talked about this a little bit, that without the struggle, that's where you learn, right? And that's where your skills come into play, whether it's conflict management, whether it's critical thinking, being able to think under pressure. And I just feel like, speaking of running through a brick wall, you got to lead from the front, and you do. And I feel like anybody would run through a brick wall for somebody that they know would run through 2 brick walls.
Yeah.
Right. And just leading by example. And so, that's like a nice segue into how you serve your customers.
Yeah.
I want to dive into what Restoration One of East Baton Rouge, what do they do? What are you capable of doing? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
And maybe some wins recently.
Sure. I was just having this conversation with a client yesterday, actually. So I'll kind of share that perspective. So Restoration One, we are a general contractor that specializes in property loss, both personal property, as is this cup and a teddy bear, to the drywall and the trim. Much of our direction comes at the cost of insurance companies, right? Homeowners insurance, general liability, whatever that looks like. An insurable loss for the most part happens. A claim is filed, and our job is not just to restore the structure. John, we exist in a space there's a lot of nuance, and it's not typical. It's not traditional contracting. Not only are we expected to, in many cases, perform work without having a cost in place in terms of what this is going to cost.
Yeah.
We are expected, and we should be able to thrive in a scenario where we've got an insurance company or carrier, agents, adjusters, et cetera, and then us. We should be helping lead and communicate that in a triangular fashion to help the client get through that challenge. So much of our work is water damage, mold, and fire. So the simplest way to put it is that a loss occurs, we're engaged through the client. We bill the insurance company as a courtesy, much like medical or it's property and casualty. And then we discuss scope, pricing, all on their behalf. Ultimately, our contract is with the client. So again, we serve in a capacity where an insurable loss in most cases occurs. And then we are that liaison between the parties to keep the property moving. I always say it's a 3-phase project. You have personal property, you have the emergency mitigation, and then you have the subsequent construction repairs. On most claims, you have mitigation and repairs, but on a fire, on a job where a toilet has flooded an entire house and you've got laminate floors throughout, the personal property side is included in many people's insurance policies. Check your policies, by the way. Make sure you're covered correctly. We see it often where we get in and there's not enough coverage or there's no coverage. So a PSA to your clients and ours, just check your policies, know your agent, know what you have. So yeah, we exist when a claim occurs. It's our job to go in and bridge that gap between the carrier and the customer and make sure everything, ultimately we get these people back into their home or their place of business as fast as possible.
And I know that as of late, it seems that every time I talk to you, there's some new fire mitigation jobs that you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised that there are that many house fires.
Yeah.
But can you kind of talk about that side of your business a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Fire is devastating. It can be as simple as a kitchen gets smoked out because you had the pot too hot and you went to pan fry something and it was wet and oil and water don't mix, to burning it down to the ground. I mean, and everything in between. Fire restoration is a very emotional time for the clients, of course. Never been through a house fire. I have no idea what these people are going through. I only see it from a contracting lens. So having empathy and making sure that you're putting their needs above anything else is paramount. Yeah, maybe to the person who isn't aware, of course, but man, house fires happen every day.
Mm-hmm.
It can be as simple as some electrical short. We see a lot of batteries catch on fire in garages with golf carts, drill batteries. Any wires cause fires. Anything with wires has the opportunity to spark and arc and do some stuff. And oftentimes, John, obviously, there's no neglect, there's no negligence necessarily. It just, man, things happen. If you think about how many wires are running through this building we're sitting in, I mean, every receptacle, every breaker, every switch, everything has the opportunity to catch on fire. It's an unfortunate reality. So we exist in a space where if something like that happens, it's our job to come in and provide cover fire to get that stuff mitigated, work with the insurance carrier on scope and price, and make sure at the end of the day, this client's taken care of.
And you guys are really full service when it comes to putting the house back together, finishing it out.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting to me is the contents piece, because that's something that I think was kind of new once Attract started coming on board, just timing wise. And so can you talk a little bit about contents and how that might set you guys apart?
Yeah, that's a great question. So contents, so we have 3 divisions in our business: mitigation, construction, and the personal property, the content side. Some may argue with this, and that's fine. My belief is that your facility, the building you're physically in or which you have access to, is the barrier to entry, among other things, but it's the biggest thing. If you don't have the facility or the square footage or the manpower, on the labor side, contents is not something that that is easily attainable. Not saying it can't be done, but that's not how we wanted to do it. So 2.5 years ago, we were able to secure a large facility here in town. You've seen it and been in it a number of times. And here in the last 16 months, our contents division has truly started. We've got great leadership. We've got great buy-in. We've got people that are serving the clients at a very high level. So yeah, that just started here about 16 months ago, and we've had a ton of success with it. In terms of setting us apart, personal property is not a service that all of our competitors offer. There are companies out there that specialize just in the personal property side. We look at it as a holistic approach. It's one of our core values is we look at the entire problem. We want to solve the entire problem from start to finish. But John, don't misunderstand me. Just because we do your personal property and mitigation, there is no assumption that we're awarded the repairs or that you even need us for that. Many of our clients know someone or, hey, my house flooded in 2016. I used this contractor and I was really happy with them. We're not there to sell the entire process up front. However, a lot of times because of the work we do on the personal property side and then the mitigation, a large majority of our clients say, hey, you guys have really done well here. I'd love to have you look at this. I'm not awarding you the job, but let's have a discussion. And that's where it all starts. We do tell our clients up front, we are a full service firm, but under no circumstance, every step of that way, it is your decision. You know, and you have the right to choose whether the insurance company tells you who to use or you just so happen to know this person through church or playing ball. It is your right to choose who you want to work with. Absolutely.
And looking at kind of the progression of the business over the last couple of years, you know, it seems like you've noted earlier, the right seats, the right people in the right seats. And, you know, it's been a great couple of years. You know, we're building on momentum year after year. But what's the future look like for Restoration One of East Baton Rouge?
That's a great question. As the visionary, that's a really fun question for me to answer. You know, look, we've got large competition here in town. Most industry does, right? Again, going through an EOS session, you know, the 10-year plan, it boils down to simple to, I need to wordsmith this, but the thought is, I don't want you to be able to drive more than a few minutes in Baton Rouge without seeing a vehicle. That's what I want. That means we're operating at a capacity and that we're serving the community in the biggest capacity that we can. So the future for us, we want to grow, but we want to grow responsibly. There have been portions in our business where we've grown, not just for the sake of growing, but it's happened and there was no real net benefit to that internally. Yeah, we served more clients, but you know, there wasn't some huge net benefit that says, hey, let's keep doing this. I can tell you, John, a large part of our growth has been our business development team in the last 16 months. Those guys are just, they're world beaters. One in particular joined us in February of 24. He brought just the world of knowledge with him, and it's been really helpful. This year, we've added 2 more with some industry experience. And again, it's just we're building succinctly on a really, really firm foundation and something we're really comfortable with. And we spent 5.5 years really building that foundation. And in the last 1.5 years, we've really capitalized on it. So the future for us is bright. The facility I just mentioned 2.5 years ago is too small. Sort of never in my wildest dreams that I think in this time frame that it wouldn't be sufficient. So we're looking to source other options. It's for sale or lease, by the way, shameless plug. But yeah, no, the future's bright and we're very excited about it.
Yeah. And so, you know, kind of as we start to wrap up here, we do have a list of questions that we generally ask most guests. I think for you, we've covered a few of these things. And a lot of people will ask you, you know, hey, David, what's your best advice you've ever gotten? But I'm interested to hear about your worst advice. Like, what's something that, like, growing up, like, you thought to be true, and then you become an adult or your eyes are open to something new, and you're like, I cannot believe I believed that for so long.
I've got the perfect example, John. My mom is going to kill me for this. So my dad passed away in 2011, so he's not here to hear this, but if he was, I would rub it in his face. So my curfew in high school was 10 o'clock, which, as we all know, often that's when the party gets started. So depending on where the party was, you know, I'm from Franklinton. These parties were often in cow pastures and parking lots. You know, we just threw down where we could. So that meant by 9:30, I had to be on the road. Well, anyway, and many of my friends' curfew was 11 and 12 o'clock. I was told the reason my curfew was 10 was because if in the unfortunate event I were to need insurance from an auto standpoint, from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., it's not covered. So my parents told me this as a way to justify my really early curfew. I can't put my thumb on it an exact time when I figured out that that was baloney. I was definitely an adult. Maybe once I started buying my own auto policies, and I'd like to think it was a discussion with an agent saying, "Hey, that exclusion from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., I need to take that off." And someone goes, "What are you talking about?" And then the scheme is uncovered. But yeah, that was something that sort of growing up, and it really, this is trivial, but it really, I'd hear all the stories of the parties after 10 o'clock. And it's like, well, it sure would be nice to be there after that time. So to those young drivers out there, I'm not going to talk for all insurance policies, but it's unlikely that if that's what you're being told that it's true, learn from me here. That's a great question.
Yeah, and I actually had an answer set up for you too. And here's what I think you could have said. And because people tell me this. Oh, I could never work with my wife. Oh, like my wife, and I could never work together in the business setting. And you guys are doing it successfully, right? And it's just so amazing to me because there are people that do it.
Yeah.
But so often, if there's 9 people who I've talked to about that, or if there's 10 people, 9 of them say, don't do it.
Yeah.
But you guys are maybe an anomaly.
It provides unique challenges to your marriage, of course. Just a quick example. It could be 10 o'clock at night and we're getting ready for bed. And I wouldn't text my office manager at 10 o'clock, "Hey, did you send that email?" Like I wouldn't do that. But we're in the same room. We're getting ready to go to sleep. It's really easy to take advantage of that situation to say X, Y, Z. So we've tried to implement the 7 to 7 rule. I don't know how much success we're having, but from 7P to 7A, our understanding is if business gets brought up, that the person that's bringing it up has gone through, all right, this is the opportunity. And if I don't get an answer now, it's going to stop me from moving forward. So we have that understanding. I think we're pretty good about that, but generally it can create challenges. But as I said earlier in this, we wouldn't be who we are without Marissa being involved. Getting the compliment from Toby the other day was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say don't do it. I would say if you're going to do it, obviously be aware, have some awareness, because it does have the real opportunity to create some challenges that most married couples won't experience because they're not operating a business together.
Mm-hmm.
Just be careful.
And so really in closing, like trying to tie our professional relationship together, this is by no means like a testimonial request, but I'm curious as to kind of like the last couple of years, like how have your thoughts on accounting and finance changed and your strengths and what has that focus done for you in your business?
I brag on you guys to anyone that'll listen. And again, I'm not doing this just because I'm here. I've referred a few people over to you because I believe in what Attract is providing. I'm not a finance guy. Okay. You are. I would suspect you wouldn't know how to mitigate a fire loss either, right? There are people who exist professionally in their lane. And really up until a few years ago, it's not that I didn't believe that or want to exercise that, but I've really bought into the mantra that I don't need to be crunching spreadsheets to figure out what cash flow is going to look like in 60 days. Guess who does that for me? Christy and Attract. We have that call once a week. So there's certain things. Gary Finley, who was the CEO of Restoration One when I started, it's since been sold to private equity and Gary's still on the board. Gary said something in the first 10 minutes that I met him. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? Never be the smartest person in the room. You don't want that. Because at some point, the smartest person in the room, especially if they're the leader, you're going to bottleneck your team at some point because you're not going to delegate. You're not going to give people the opportunity to fly in the areas that they excel in. He gave the example of, I haven't cut my grass in 10 years. And I'm thinking, no, I love to cut my grass. And to this day, I will say it. It's one thing I'm not giving up. I won't let Marissa do it. I'm not paying to do it. I love cut. It's therapeutic. But his point was, okay, I can go spend 3 hours a week cutting my grass, but what is my opportunity cost there? What have I given up because I chose to do that? All centered around the premise, whatever you're doing inside of your business, whatever role you're completing, you become worth to the business what that role is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Assign a dollar value to it, assign completion out of it, whatever it looks like. So for me, on the financial side, John, and please believe me, I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to play one. I want to be able to move through QuickBooks and mess up enough stuff to where Christy has to come behind me and fix it. I want to be able to call you and I'd rather call you and say, John, man, I just had this thought hit my head. Tell me what your perspective is on owner-occupied buildings and certain zip codes, and let's do a pro forma and let's figure out if that's a viable investment option.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the things I should be focused on,
Mm-hmm.
right? So yeah, it's all about having your lane, and we have paid contractors, 1099 vendors to help us with that. And honestly, John, if I believe in one thing, it's the financial integrity, right? Because without cash, a business doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a particularly sensitive subject with me. We've struggled. We've had the greatest days of all time, and we've had everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
So having partners in that financial arm has really, really raised our ceiling.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yep.
I look at our, personal friendship and then our professional friendship and relationship. And it's just so exciting to be able to grow together, as young business owners.
Yeah.
And I'm just so appreciative that you were able to come in and share about, yourself, your wonderful wife, your amazing company. And hey, man, cheers to much more success going out.
Hey, right back to you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll see you the next time on Kickin' Assets.